back to the Stephen A. Smith Show on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Stephen A. Smith.
48 minutes past hour number 2 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. We'll be off the air in about 11 minutes or so, and then the one and only Mad Dog Russo will come on with his afternoon drive show. Back here with the one and only Mark Cuban, minority owner for the Dallas Mavericks. You once explored running for president. What do you think about this week's Democratic wins in New York, New Jersey, and Virginia?
I mean, they're fine, but so many things can change in a year, for the midterms, and then even more can change by the time we get to 28. So I really, it's great for the Democrats, but I don't really put a whole lot of anything on it. It's just one small step.
Have you thought about running?
Not as much as you have. I don't want to be president. It's not my lifetime goal. But the only way I would run is if Donald Trump tried to run for a third term, because that would just be wrong, in my opinion. So that's the only thing that would get me to run.
Why would you do that instead of, like, I would think the default position would be for us to go to somebody like Barack Obama and say, why don't you run for a third term, since he could run for a third term? If he could circumvent the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution and run for the presidency of the United States for a third term, why don't you do it? That's what I would think first, but I'm not going to lie. To see you on stage going up against Donald Trump, it wouldn't bother me one bit. I would like it.
Because I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican, and I'm an independent. And if it
Same
were up
here.
to me, I get rid of both parties. And I think, while I'm a huge fan of Barack's President Obama's, I don't think that's what the American people want. And I think if the current president tried to run again, there would be a lot of party politics, and I think the American people would want something different, because that's what got Trump into office in the first place.
When you say that you're not a Democrat or a Republican, you're an independent. I vibe with that 1,000%.
Mhm.
What's your definition of an independent?
I think for myself, every issue is unique in itself, and I try to, come up with solutions or evaluate each issue on its own. I'm not dogmatic. I think it's wrong that when either party has one homogenous perspective, it doesn't make any sense at all in this country that every Democrat or every Republican, despite representing different constituencies, have to think the same way and have to all be on the same page, and they get in trouble if they don't. That makes no sense to me. Being independent means looking at problems and trying to come up with solutions. If, by chance I ended up as president, I wouldn't be like, okay, even if I ran as a Democrat, let's just put Democrats in all these positions. That makes no
Sure.
sense to me.
No
Right?
sense.
Get independents, get the Republicans, get the best person for the job,
Make
and
them
do
work
what's best for
together.
yeah, of course, right? Go out there and talk to people, because the way you get bipartisan support is by getting the American people behind ideas and push
Mhm.
it, not because it's about power that you have, but push it from the bottom up, because it's what the American people want and what the American people need, in their opinion, to their decision, not from the politicians trying to make up their minds for them.
One of the biggest things I point to, Mark Cuban, is that when people talk about me with this stuff, I get so furious, because I'm like, listen, y'all, when it's one side completely empowered, you have extreme resentment on the other side. It fuels chaos. And then the American citizens are pawns, because we're seeing these folks go at it one another, knowing they can't work. And that's the kind of stuff that scares the living hell out of the American citizens, which causes chaos in the streets, as opposed to coming together, willing to work across party lines and say, this is the best solution for America.
Yeah, and I think
That,
it's
to me,
simpler
should
than
be the
that.
agenda.
I think it's simpler
Okay.
than that. I think the mission should be to reduce the stress of the American people and let the American people tell you what they need to have happen. I think, that's what Mandami did in New York. That was good. That's what Trump did when he ran this time against Harris, because he basically said, you want lower gas prices? I'm going to get you lower gas prices. You want lower produce and grocery prices? I'm going to get you lower grocery prices. You want lower rent? Mandami says he's going to get them lower rent. Now they have to come through, which they haven't done for the most part, and I don't know that Mandami knows how to come through. But so coming out as a presidential candidate and saying, yes, we can talk about all these things. We can sit down with your budget, and we're going to come up. I'm going to show you the actual plan to get this stuff done, because that's something that politicians don't do. They tell you what they're going to do, but they don't tell you how they're going to do it. And there's so many easy ways to communicate that information. So that's first and foremost. And then I think the second thing is you've got to go out among the people and really inspire them to take advantage of what we have as Americans in this country. What makes this country so different than every other country is the American dream. We're a country of entrepreneurs. There's not a French dream, there's not a German dream, there's not an English dream, there's an American dream. And every single person you know at some point in their life had an idea for a business. And this is the one country where that can happen. And we're no longer inspiring people to go out and do that. We're not inspiring kids to be excited about learning and being curious to go out and create new things. Like I have this standard speech that I give to middle school kids where I point to all the things in the room and I said, that screen, that desk, that chair, one day it didn't exist. And then one day, some kid, some person came up with the idea, turned it into a company, turned it into a product, and now you're sitting on it or watching it. So you need to ask yourself, I don't care if you're 6 years old, 8 years old, 80 years old, why not me? Why can't I be the one who creates something that changes the world? And we've stopped in trying to inspire people like that. And that's what's missing. When you inspire people, when you respect what they're trying to accomplish, when you respect their concerns and their fears and the challenges they have just paying their bills and show them solutions instead of just saying you're going to do it. I think that's going to be the difference because no one person, I don't care if it's a mayor or a president, can come up with all the solutions. And no one person has everything already thought out. But we have one fucking smart country here. We have so many amazing people in this country that you can go to for help. That could be some kid that's going to a school that doesn't have all the best resources or goes to a small university, right, that isn't the most well known or isn't Ivy League, and just ask for help and inspire them to come up with new ideas. And when you do that and things bubble up, that's when the magic happens. This whole concept of I will change it for you, right? We're going to be socialists and we will figure it out for you. Those days are gone because they'll never fulfill those promises, and they haven't fulfilled those promises. Not to say that they can't do anything. Like Trump did the border, more power to him. He said what he was going to do, and he did it. Right? There are things that you can do, but generally, across the board, the best solutions come from the bottom up, not the top down.
Just a few minutes left. You've teamed up with four other billionaires in a legal fight against dark money and super PACs. Tell us about that real quick.
Yeah, so Citizens United basically allows people to anonymously give a lot of money to these super PACs that who then can do basically whatever they want to try to influence elections. And I just think that's wrong. Like, I don't give money to presidential or any political candidates. If you want to talk to me, hopefully the quality of my ideas are something you want to talk about and implement, but I don't want to have to buy that influence. And I just think trying to buy influence is wrong. And so in the state of Maine, they put some voluntary limitations on how much people can contribute. And with this lawsuit, we want to make them permanent and make sure that those are real, those are enforced, and that gets extended to overturn these super PACs and Citizens United. And if that happens, you know, Citizens United has only been around since what, 2010, and
Right.
so it's not going to be dramatic, but it would have a huge impact on rich people trying to influence all the elections.
Before I let you get on out of here, Mark, considering all the things, kind of conversation that we've been having, I want to know, if at all, how much more important has the world of sports become considering the times that we're living in your estimation? Just sports overall. We only got about a minute and a half left, but
Sure.
go ahead, just
Real
give it to
quick,
me.
incredibly more important because that's something that brings us together. I've said it since the day I walked into the Mavs. We are the one place where you come together to watch a game. And when that ball's in the air and you're down 2 points and it's a 3 point shot, if it goes through the hoop and you win at the buzzer, you're hugging and high-fiving people you've never seen before in your life, and you'll never see them again. It's the only place where we would hear from kids who are dying of cancer and they want to be buried in Dirk or Luca's or AD's jersey, right? That's just so unique and it brings us together, and we need more of it, not less.
Well, we need more Mark Cuban as far as I'm concerned. Listen, man, I got a
Appreciate it.
political show that comes on weekly. I'm going to invite you on to talk about a lot of these issues, in the
Sure.
weeks to come, my man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on with me today. We'll talk soon, all right, buddy?
You got it. Anytime, Steven.
All right, the one and only Mark Cuban, minority owner for the Dallas Mavericks. Still don't sound right. Still don't sound right. He should always be the majority owner. But right now, damn it, 27%. But he's got bigger things, bigger fish to fry with the kind of things that he's been talking about, kind of things that he's been doing. Is so much more important. But it doesn't dilute the importance of sports and the impact that it has on our society. This is why I love doing this show. This is why I love doing it every day. Doing politics and stuff like that has made me more passionate about sports than I've been practically ever, because it just reminds you of what sports does for us all. Brings us together, gives us stuff to root for. You see everybody from all ethnic backgrounds and what have you cheering one another, hugging one another, on the same accord, having the same agenda, rooting for our teams, etc., etc. Nothing does it better for us than sports. Nothing does it better for us than sports. Thanks again to the one and only Mark Cuban, owner for the Dallas Mavericks. That's it for this week. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show. I'll be back with you on Monday. Until then, peace and love, everybody. Mad Dog Russo up next.